Hey musicians, so today we're going to talk about more intervals and then also how you can determine intervals for a scale, a major scale. So we're going to start with that, and we'll talk about major and minor later, but right now we're going to talk about what we call a major scale. Now you've already had some, a video on the piano, so if you're not sure of that, you need to go back to it because we're talking about intervals and how they would look on the piano, and then you can transfer that to your instrument. So when we talk about intervals and scales, we're talking about two different intervals, okay? The first one is what we call a half step. And a half step is the closest interval that most Western music plays, okay? Most classical music and things like that. I mean, there are microtones and things like that, but that's not for this video. But we're talking about a half step, so between a white key and the next black key up, or the black key to the next white key, or in those two cases where you have the E and the F and the B and the C, those are half steps because there's nothing in between. So it's the closest interval that we have in Western music, most Western music, okay? And then we also have what we call a whole step, which is just two halves make a whole, right? That's a little bit of math. So if you go from F, and then there's the F sharp, right, which is the black key, and then the next note up is the G. Okay, F to G is what we call a whole step, all right? Again, go back and look at the piano if you're a little confused with that, you can see the difference between half steps and whole steps, all right? So using that, half step, smallest interval in most Western music, whole step is two half steps, so two half steps equals a whole, all right? So then if we start on our C, okay, we're gonna use the white keys on the piano for right now, no black keys. So we start on our C, and I go up a whole step, I get to my D, okay? And then if I start on my D and I go up a whole step, I get to my E, okay, C, D, E. Now if I start on my E and I go up a half step, that's the F, that's that white key that there's nothing in between. So C, D, E, F, okay? Those four notes right there constitute what we call a tetrachord, okay? There's more to it than that, but we're gonna call it a major tetrachord. I mean, there's a huge definition of that. But for our purposes and what we're doing in modern practice, we're going to call that a major tetrachord. So a major tetrachord is whole step, half step, okay? No matter what note you start on, if you go up a whole step, then a whole step, and then a half step, you've got what we call a major tetrachord, all right? Now, if I start the next note up a whole step, okay, starting on G, all right? And I do the same process. Okay, so I start on G, and I go up a whole step. There's my A. Okay, you can look on the piano, G to A. All right. Then I start on my A, and I go up to the next whole step. That's a B. All right. And then start on my B, and I go up the half step, which is there's no notes in between B and C. Right. It's the two white keys that are together. There's my half step. All right. So there's my G tetrachord. I had my C tetrachord and my G tetrachord. If I put these two tetrachords together, I have a major scale. I have the C major scale, okay? So C, D, E, F is my first tetrachord. Go up a whole step. G, A, B, C, my second tetrachord, okay? Put together, there's what we call the C major scale. So a good definition of a major scale is two tetrachords separated by a whole step, okay? Now try that on a different scale. So let's try this on, I'm just going to get rid of these real quick, and you'll see how this works. Let's try it on a flat scale, all right? So let's start it on B flat, okay? So I have B flat. If I go up a B flat, a whole step, B flat, B natural, C, okay? And then I go up another whole step, C, C sharp, D. Then I go up a half step. Up a half step from D is E flat, okay? There's my first tetrachord. Now I'm going to go up a whole step from E flat. So E flat, E natural, F. Okay, I'm going to start this tetrachord on F. Now I'm going to go up a whole step from F, F, F sharp, G, okay? G, G sharp, A. And then a half step up from A is right below B flat, okay? So the definition of this major scale, which is the B flat tetrachord, and the F tetrachord put together is the B flat major scale. So I have two tetrachords separated by a whole step. Now remember, in a scale, well, you may not know this, but in a scale, in a major scale, you can only have one name for each note. So you wouldn't go B flat, C, D, D sharp. it'd be an E flat. Okay, you have to have one letter name for each part of the scale in a major scale. Okay, you'll never have two notes in there, so you wouldn't have B flat, C, D, D sharp, and then F, G, A sharp. Even though enharmonically it sounds the same, right? You've got to call it different notes. All right. I hope that's helpful. Practice it out, because the next quiz has what notes are missing, and you need the piano to use that. Okay? Hopefully that's helpful. All right, let's keep making music. Thanks.